Yeah, not Medinat Yisrael. Shalom lekulam. Okay,
This year today is dedicated by Harold and myself in memory of my mother, whose yahrzeit is tonight and tomorrow. Her name was Leah Bat David, and she was very clear about her most important values, which were Yiddishkeit, family, learning of all kinds, from Jewish learning to intellectual learning to music. And we grew up in a very small town, and Shabbat was the key. And I think that from that, she, no matter what, my nephew said at her Levaya that she lit the candles in the Golah, and I think Galut, and I think that that has enabled her family to continue her legacy. So, thank you. Thank you.
יפה. Okay, אז so the shir will be Leilui Neshama. Good morning, everybody. Good early afternoon, however. Still morning, that's great. So the shir, yes, is indeed, as I said in the end of last week, a certain continuation of last week. Just to remind, last week we spoke about Tu B'Shvat, because it was Tu B'Shvat, so it made sense to speak about Tu B'Shvat. And actually, what I said is that I want to highlight two important themes that I see in Tu B'Shvat. One, and that are actually related one to the other. One was the fact that our Torah, anyone who reads the book of Devarim, is talking about implementing spiritual values in a material, regular, normal world, and is not for a separation, a split between the spiritual and the material. That's how I always interpret also the Sulam of Yaakov, that he dreams about the ladder, that he sees angels climbing from earth to heaven and vice versa, and that is because in that context, and we'll get into details, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is giving him a chizuk and explaining him that that's the way to go. The way is not separating spirituality from and spiritual values from the material world, but rather implementing them and living a regular life, material life, by values of moral ethics and Torah. So that was one important theme. And the second one, which we didn't get much to examine, and I think in this year we'll see an illustration of that, is the appreciation that we have for people who are involved in building the land of Israel, fighting for the land of Israel. You know, we are unfortunately in a very special day that is reminding us that we're still in a war of existence, and that there is Mesiras Nefesh that is unfortunately required in order to maintain our residing here, our dwelling here. But the thing is really that well, let's put it this way: the good eye that we should, the Ayin Tovah that we should adopt, seeing people that are contributing for the building of the land of Israel, even if we have some serious reservations from their ways. And I think both ideas, the chibur between Ruach and Chomer, and Ahavat Yisrael and the Achdut Yisrael, both are, I think, that's what I claimed last week, are themes that are very, very closely related to Tu B'Shvat. Now I wanted to go from there and call it Torat Eretz Yisrael. Now, the term Torat Eretz Yisrael, I want to say something about it. I remember that my father taught me when I was a kid. He showed me with a smile how in some Torah books there's a hakpada, meaning they're very strict at writing. Sometimes it's written printed in Israel, but if you're more holy, I'm saying it in with a smile, then it will be written printed in Israel. Israel. Now everyone understand that Israel is Eretz Yisrael, and the idea is chas v'shalom, God forbid, not to say Medinat Yisrael. Meaning, if I'll say printed in Israel, that implies it was printed in Medinat Yisrael, and that's terrible. We can't acknowledge such a sitra achra. So printed in Israel, and even told me that there is a certain uncle of my mom that is very Haredi, and even in the letters, then there were no WhatsApp, no emails, there were letters, hardly phones. So, but on the addresses, he would write Israel, in the letter when he writes his address. Chas v'shalom, not Israel, because Israel is Medinat Yisrael, and that's terrible. So when it's written here, Torat Eretz Yisrael, that might imply, but here I have to say, Torat Eretz Yisrael is a term that is used a lot by Rav Kook and Merkaz Harab school. And it has all kinds of meanings, Torat Eretz Yisrael. I think, and that requires a shir on its own, Rav Kook, when he mentioned Torat Eretz Yisrael, he spoke about, let's say, the Yerushalmi versus the Bavli, and the way of thinking of the Yerushalmi that is different than the Bavli, that the Bavli is more pilpulistic, and the Yerushalmi is more intuitive. Perhaps Torat Eretz Yisrael has to do more with nevuah. Again, nevuah in a broad sense, not necessarily prophet, but intuition, straightforward, chibur, and now I'm getting to our topic, a greater chibur, link, connection between reality, implementing the Torah in reality, in material reality, and we can broaden now I have to tell you that, let's say Rav Lichtenstein, my Rosh Yeshiva, Zecher Tzadik Levracha, I think he had a certain reservation from that very, very clear-cut articulation of Torat Chutz La'aretz and Torat Eretz Yisrael. And yet still I could see the point of Rav Kook, and more than that, even if we don't take exactly, this is not a shir to define what is Torat Eretz Yisrael in the thought of Rav Kook. This is not that shir, the following one, what we're going to speak about now. But at least the fact that definitely, and I had even the zchut here in this forum to give several shurim about how to run a state, what is pikuach nefesh in a national level, all kinds of questions that halachists were simply not busy with, hostage deal, laws of war, things that we had series last year about them here in this forum, and all of these things are part of Torat Eretz Yisrael in my eyes, because in the Galut, naturally, these things were not discussed because they weren't relevant. And the healthy life of a nation is a nation that is in its land with its sovereignty. And then, of course, you ask how on the national level we run it by values of Torah, etc. And that is Torat Eretz. All of this is part of Torat Eretz Yisrael. And indeed, Tu B'Shvat was a good, the previous week's shir was a good kickoff for a discussion about these things. So, a quick reminder, for those who weren't here last week, and that's fine. Last week I just said that God himself, according to the Midrash, we said several things. I won't repeat all, but I'm just pointing out one thing now, that God himself said that when the Midrash says that the first thing God does when he creates the world is planting trees in Gan Eden, and that there is an expectation that we will follow his ways. We, just as he is busy in building the world, we should also be engaged in netiot, that's in planting trees. And that therefore this act that seems very physical actually has higher roots. And the last thing that we mentioned last week, and here I'm just repeating the first source that appears here. Rav Kook said this sentence. The translation, as I told you, is a ChatGPT translated it pretty good. But the thing is that we need to emphasize the difference between the two words in bold. חשק נטיית אילנות נובע מחפץ הטבת הדורות הבאים המובלט בתוקפו בעץ החרוב. The desire to plant trees stems from the wish to benefit future generations, highlighted in its strength in the carob tree. What I focused last week, and I'm repeating now, is the relationship between the two words that Rav Kook is using intentionally. Cheshek and chefetz. Cheshek is desire, meaning is like a taiva. Cheshek, I have a bali, as I said, the kids that I'm giving them candies. So bali yarok, I think bali adom, bali. So that's the cheshek, and the chefetz is already a ratzon, a desire. Yeah, and we all know the difference between bali, cheshek, and chefetz. Yeah. And here, what Rav Kook says is that if you that he disagrees the way I presented as making a dichotomy between the two, as if there is a conflict. Of course, sometimes in our lives there is a conflict. I have a desire, a taiva, to do something, but if you'll ask me if I'll count till 10 as our parents, then I said, do you really want to do that? Really want to do that? Then the answer will be no. Okay? So of course, in our ordinary life, there are sometimes gaps between the cheshek and the chefetz. But what Rav Kook wants to tell us that in principle, these two are not necessarily contradicting. And he gives the example of Chodesh Shvat in terms of planting trees. It could be a very low desire. I want to plant trees because I have a lust, I have a desire to the sweet fruit. Okay, and that's why I want to now to plant trees, because I want to here and now something physical, cheshek. But no, he says planting it. Actually, this cheshek, this is actually stemming from a chefet, something much higher that is thinking not only about the here and now, and not only about yourself, but rather about the future generations. You're really planting for someone else. And he says the best example is the carob tree, and that's the famous story in the next source in Choni HaMagel that saw someone planting a carob tree. That's why Rav Kook spoke specifically in the sentence about a carob tree, because he was referring to that agada in Tainis Daf Kaf Gimel. That he saw that old man planting a carob tree, and he tells, when will you have fruit? He says it will take 70 years. And he says, so you're not going to live. So he says, yeah, but when I came to the world, my grandparents planted a carob tree for me, and I had fruits, and my grandchildren will have fruits. And then Choni HaMagel was sleeping for 70 years, according to the Agada, woke up, saw a person around that carob tree, and he said, he said, no, yeah, that was my grandpa, meaning, and that's all. He saw how the grandchild, Choni HaMagel, is enjoying the fruits of the tree that his grandpa. Now, of course, that has a lot of symbolic meaning, Masorah, continuity, not only the here and now, the fact that you operate physically in this world, not only to benefit yourself. Yeah, I gave the analogy last week to bringing children, how it's, on the one hand, it's a cheshek. It's very, very similar to planting trees, yeah? when you're bringing children to this world, it's a cheshek, but it's also a chefetz. Yeah, it's acting in something just like planting trees. So here Rav Kook gave a brilliant example in Chodesh Bet about our idea of the connecting of the high and the low, the spiritual, the desire, and the fact that you implement high desires, high wishes, if I'm using the chat GPT, within desires. But now let's see a halachic illustration of that is amazing, is fascinating. The Torah says the following. You see, that's the third source here. Let's learn. וכתב עוד, ויש אומרים ונאכל מפריה ונשבע מטובה. The Torah quotes the Sefer Mitzvot Gadol. Who is the Sefer Mitzvot Gadol? Smag. Sefer Mitzvot Gadol is an important Rishon that did a Sefer Mitzvot, and the Torah quotes him, Ashkenazic Sefer Mitzvot. And he says, the Sefer HaMitzvot is right. V'katavot v'yeshomah. Now that's regarding the text of the bracha of Al HaMechia. As we all know, we say, Al ha'aretz v'al HaMechia v'al eretz rachem na Hashem Elokeinu Al Yisrael HaMechia v'al Yerushalayim uvnei Yerushalayim v'aleinu letocha. And now we pray to God, uvnei Yerushalayim v'aleinu letocha. And please make us do all that. And we pray that He will bring us to the land and that we will eat from its fruit and get satisfied from its good. And He will bless you over that land with holiness and purity. Now look, that's an amazing statement. Look at the reservation of the Torah, of the Sefer HaMitzvot. Comes the Sefer HaMitzvot and takes his pen and draws a line, erases the clause, please God, make us make Aliyah and build Jerusalem and bring us to the Zeh. Without saying v'nochal mipriya v'nisba mituva. Now, what's wrong with v'nochal mipriya v'nisba mituva? Look at what he says. She'ein lachmod haaretz b'shvil pirya v'tuva. Are you desiring the Holy Land for its fruits and good, growings, whatever? I always say. Crop, yeah? Pasnisht. Ela lekayem mitzvot atluyot ba. A Yid, when he is in the Galus, a Yid, and even when he's in Israel, why is he praying for God, v'aleinu letocha, v'samcheinu bevinyana, and make us happy in its building? Because of the fruit, the sweet fruit. That's so low. A Yid, he has a desire, he prays for God to bring him to Israel. You have the taiva to go to Israel, the desire to go to Israel, to do mitzvot atluyot ba'aretz. Eat from its fruit.
Yeah, the same with brachot. Say brachot on the fruit of Israel.
No, okay. Look, that's what the Beit Yosef will say. Fine, but the Sefer HaMitzvot was so troubled because he understood the clause that you're praying for God to bring me to Israel to eat the fruit. No, if you say to make the blessing, that's fine, but to eat the fruit, that's what you want. You understand exactly here. The Sefer HaMitzvot, he's an important rabbi, medieval, but we see here a good example of what we will call chniok, meaning physical. Are we low? Are we connected to the physical aspects of the land of Israel? We're doing mitzvot atluyot ba'aretz. We're building your kollels. Okay, that's Eretz HaKodesh. The fruit is Eretz HaKodesh. Nachon, but that's it. So you want the fruit not in order to eat from its fruit. In order to, there will be a means to do mitzvah that's kliyot ba'aretz. This he could accept. Look at the Beit Yosef. The Adoni Avizal. So the Beit Yosef, the Shulchan Aruch, he already lived in Israel, you know. So he says the following, and he's Fardian. The Sefer HaMitzvot is Ashkenazi. Excuse me for saying that, but I think it could have a relationship to that too. Adoni Avizal Ayamwo, meaning he quotes the Torah. There are versions in the Torah, but the version of the Beit Yosef is that the Torah says that his father, who was the Rosh, that the Rosh did say this line, meaning the Sefer HaMitzvot erased that line, because it's pasnish that a Yid will daven to go to Israel for tasting fruit. But the Beit Yosef quote that the Rosh left that line. Okay, so how will he answer the Sefer HaMitzvot's concern that a Yid should not lachmod, don't have any covet, any desire for the land for its fruit? The fact that we're saying the goal is not for the eating. That's not the end. This is the end. Meaning, he says, hey, relax. You're right. But look, you're right. No one really desires to eat the fruit. That's very low. Look at the entire sentence. It's one sentence. The reason, the justification for v'nochal mipriya v'nisba mituvah is only a means to an end. Because how will we bless over the land? After eating fruit. So we're praying to God that will bring us to Israel. So we'll be able to eat their fruit and that way bless him over the land. So, all right, that's already a little step forward, or back, however you said. You know what? We want to eat the fruit of Israel, but not because we really want to eat them, because we want to eat them so we'll be able to bless God for eating them. But you see that still, the eating the fruit is only a means. The material, the materiality of Eretz Yisrael doesn't get here standing as something that is an end. It has an intrinsic value. It's only a means towards an end. The blessing is the ikar. Okay, I have to tell you, here when I read this Beit Yosef, okay, I was reminded of the famous machloket between the Rambam and the Rabbi Yehuda Halevi. Let me explain. Machloket, not that it appears as a machloket. I categorize it as to, if we speak about really the relationship between the material and the spiritual. So Rambam, he will tell you, you know, if you really conduct yourself, that's how you pronounce, conduct your life in a good way, in the ideal way. So you eat only what you need. Of course, being a Nazir is terrible because God created us with a body. But you should eat enough so that, why are we eating according to the Rambam?
Satisfy the mitzvah of the Torah, the altar of the Sabbath.
No. We're eating according to the Rambam. The ideal of Bechol Drachecha Da'eu, okay, is I eat, I sleep, I work, so that I will have koyach to learn philosophy. Meaning, or to learn Torah, if you want to put a yarmulke on this. But I mean, I said the real Rambam, but let's now convert the Rambam to be yeshivish. in order to do avodat Hashem. Okay, that I'll have koach to learn. If you're asleep and you're eating and you're doing parnasa, by the way, why you're doing parnasa? Not to build the world, or something like that. All kinds of ideals that you could read by Rav Soloveitchik or whatever. No, I work so that I'll have money, so I could feed my family, so I could learn Torah. Everything is a means, and that I think has to do, in my eyes, with Rambam's general approach, which is influenced by Aristotelian view, that the material in nature is bad. Hachomer ha'achul. Yeah, the material, the filthy material. And therefore, okay, but God, for reasons that are beyond our understanding, decided to create us in this way. So we should respect that. And therefore we should eat enough, but not more than enough. We should sleep enough, but not more than enough. We should work enough, but not more than enough. Yeah, mamash kacha. Because we're geared towards the ikar. What is the ikar? Philosophy and whatever. Avodas Hashem we'll call it. Okay.
What's Avodas Hashem? That's what the whole thing is.
But according to the Rambam, Olam Haba. No, according to the Rambam. Let me just crystallize. Olam Haba is a world without bodies. That's the end. That's the idea. It's Olam HaNeshamot. That's according to the Rambam. Okay. No ideals of sanctifying the material or whatever. This is nonsense. Okay? I know Rav Kook believed in it, but Rav Kook and the Rambam are two different people. Could respect both. Okay? The Olam Haba is a world of spirits, no bodies. Okay? That's why the Ravid is upset with him. Okay? And Sefer Dvarim. Now the Rambam has a kashya, but I see that all the rewards in Sefer Dvarim, all the rewards are material. And no word about Olam Haba, and only about you will be in the land, and v'achalta v'savata u'verachta, v'samachta b'chol hatov, you'll be happy with what? With meat and with... So the Rambam says, no, I'll tell you. The answer is the following. That's Rambam Menachos Tshuva. This is instrumental. I want that everything will be set so that the goyim, and that you won't have any worries. If you'll have all the material good, then you will be set to deal with the important things, the spiritual things. And that is the real reward, the portion that you will get by clinging to God, baseichel. This is the ideal. Of course, the kashi on the Rambam is what we call ha'ikar chaser min hasefer, meaning the real end, according to you, is the one that is not mentioned explicitly in the psukim. But that's what the Rambam says. Believe me. That's how he sees it. Instrumental, all the reward that is written explicitly in Sefer Dvarim is merely instrumental, a means. Okay, now, take Rabbi Yehuda Halevi. Rabbi Yehuda Halevi, when he describes the Hasid, the God worshipper, in Ma'amar Shlishi, in the third volume portion in Sefer HaKuzari, so he says exactly what the Beit Yosef said. The Hasid eats and enjoys his eating, not for the reason the Rambam said he eats so that he will have koach to learn. He eats and enjoys the eating in order to to thank God for the good. That's very, very much like what we see here in the Beit Yosef. That's, as I said, a different approach. But now let's look at the Bach, the Bayit Chadash, another commentator on the tour, and look at what he says. Now he asks, Tema, you see it's three words from the end of the first row in the Bach. Tema, hello, he says, I don't understand this Sefer HaMitzvot, the one that erased. Tema, הלא קדושת הארץ הנשפט בה מקדושת הארץ העליונה, the kedusha of the land, of the material, that is influenced, or it's more than it, but nishpat, it gets from, like shofea, spills over, by the elevated kedusha, high kedusha of the land, היא נשפעת גם בפירותיה. It goes even into the fruits. It's, איך אומרים, חודר, penetrates, even to the fruit. שיונקים מקדושת השכינה. They are sucking, however you want to go, from the kedusha of the Shechina that is in the land. Ve'al ken nicha, and therefore we understand why we include in this bracha v'nochal mipirya v'nisba mitova. Ki be'achilat perotea, by eating fruits of Eretz Yisrael, anu nizonim mikdushat hashchina, we are nourished by the kedusha of the Shechina and its purity. V'nisba mituvata, and will be satisfied from its good. So, Sefer HaMitzvot, erase the line. A Yid doesn't have a taiba for the fruit. The fruit of Israel, that's what you want. You want to go to Israel, the Eretz HaKodesh. You want to eat. You desire to you pray God that God will bring you back to the land to eat its fruits. Pasnisht. That's the smak. The Beit Yosef says, no. You want to eat the fruits, so you'll be able to make a bracha. But your desire is to make a bracha over the fruits of the land of Israel. And the Bach is saying, no. V'nochal mipirya v'nisba mituva. Not because unvarchecha aleh. Unvarchecha aleh is very, very important too. But yeah, v'nochal mipirya, the fruits of the land of Israel are fruits of Eretz HaKodesh. And when you eat that material fruit, you're actually, I know it's mystical, but by eating the fruit of the land of Israel, you are getting close to God. Okay? So here you have, according to the Bach, you have that link. Go back now to the sentence of Rav Kook that we started our journey with. Cheshek netiat ilanot novea bechefetz hatavat hadorot habaim. Planting trees in the land of Israel and then having fruit from these trees, it's not merely a physical low thing. You remember I mentioned last week that title that I gave as a metaphor from the psychoanalyst, reminding the body. So here you live in the body, meaning the spirituality, the values, the kedusha, the life, which is the life. That's like the air. That's the spirituality. That's the neshama. So you live in a body, okay? In the fruit. Yeah, that's what he's actually telling us here. The Bach. Yeah? And that separation between material and spiritual is death. You know, when our neshama leaves our guf, then it's a corpse. It's dead. Okay? So returning to Israel means that this land is starting to live. That's why one of the signs of Geula mentioned in Sanhedrin is when the fruit are flourishing again. And indeed, as Mark Twain describes, when we were out of here, the land was dead. Okay, that's exactly the point. And you can mention Gush Katif here and all that. Okay, but that's the. Okay, what did you want to say, Paul?
The same thing. The Sabenu Mituva, and in the Haredi Sidurim it's for Sabenu Mituvra.
Yafeh. Mituvecha. So
Rav Aaron Kudler said no. They asked the Rav Aaron Kudler in Lakewood where you should say Mituvecha or Mituva, and he held Mituva.
Okay. There are just. No, there is, whether you say v'sab'enu, and you'll satisfy mituva, from the good of the land, or mituvcha, from your good, God. Now, at any rate, I just want to say that, you know, I mentioned the Rambam, I mentioned Rabbi Yehuda Levi, that is corresponding to the Beit Yosef here. And now we can mention Rav Kook, that is kind of corresponding to the Bach here. Meaning that when I look, the pshat of Sefer Dvarim, not that Rav Kook said it anywhere, I'm saying in his vision, okay? The pshat of Sefer Dvarim is definitely not that it's just an instrumental rewards for, having the real sachar, which is Olam Haba. That's what the Rambam says, but that's not the pshat of Sefer Dvarim, because as I said, ha'ikar chaser min ha'sefer, the main point is missing from the book. The pshat is that the ideal picture, according to the Torah, is that in the desert you got manna from heaven, and that was an important stage. But when you enter the land, you physically build it, plant it, enjoy the fruits there, enjoy the good there, and implement the live Torah life in a normal material world. Okay? That's I think what is written in the Bach. If you'll excuse me, now I want to get, very important for me, to the second point. When I mentioned Torat Eretz, that I said is closely related, because once we have respect to the physical aspects of building the land of Israel, that opened the door to the next statement that is very important. Let's look here in Perek Chet. Ki Hashem Elokecha meviacha el Eretz tova, Eretz nachalei mayim, ayinot v'tohomot yotzim b'bikar ubahar. Yeah, the pasuk in Sefer Dvarim says that God brings you to a very good land, and then the famous pasuk, Eretz chita us'ora v'gefen v'te'ena v'rimon, a land of wheat, barley, grape, date, and pomegranate, a land of olive oil and honey. When, as we know, honey is referring to dates. I said by mistake figs. I should have said te'ena figs. Okay, so now let's see what the Gemara, a very interesting Gemara in Brachos regarding that this pasuk. Rav Chisda and Rav Amnuna havuyat v'besudat. Rav Chisda and Rav Amnuna were sitting in a meal. It was brought in front of them dates and pomegranates. Shakal Rav Amnuna barich tamri bereisha. So Rav Chisda watches Rav Amnuna benching first over the dates. Amar le Rav Chisda. So Rav Chisda is surprised. He asked him, Lo sabir le'mar lahada amar Rav Yosef v'eitimei Rabbi Yitzchak. Don't you hold like what was said by this rabbi? Kol ha'mukdam bepasuk ze kodem libarcha. That the order of the species in the items in the pasuk is the order of bracha, and since it's written Eretz chita us'ora v'gefen v'te'ena v'rimon, and only afterwards Eretz zeit shemen udvash, so the date is the last species, and the pomegranate is the fifth species. Yeah, the date is the seventh, and the pomegranate is the fifth. So you should have, says Rav Chisda to Rav Amnuna, you should have benched first over the pomegranate. So why did you bench first over the date? Amar le, so he answers him, Ze sheni la'aretz, v'ze chamishi le'eretz. Meaning, he says, look at the Torah here. The Torah, and actually, as Rabbi Hanan Poratzer Tzadik Lebracha said, that whole paragraph is full of the word Eretz. Eretz ma'inei mayim, Eretz, to express the love to the land. But here, you saw here an extra Eretz. Yeah, Eretz chita u'soha v'gefen v'rimon. Eretz zeit shemen udvash. So actually, since the Torah repeated the word Eretz, so the date is only two words, is a second species to the second Eretz, whereas the pomegranate is the fifth species to the first Eretz. So therefore, since at the end of the day, the date is closer to the word land, therefore, the date should come first. Interesting. First in the blessing. So Amarle, Rav Chisda is so happy with the answer, excited with the answer Rav Amnuna gave him. Man yayiv lanagre de parzala. Who will give us boots or shoes of metal, metal boots, v'nashmianach, and we'll be mishamish you, or we'll listen from you, we'll serve you and learn from your ways. Now, that is interesting. Why, of all things, he says, when he wants to appreciate his thing, he says, oh, I wish we had metal shoes that we will. That's interesting. So now let's look how Rav Kook interprets this story. By the way, I just want to say, this Gemara was ruled halacha l'maisa. The Shulchan Aruch rules that if I have in front of me in Tu B'Shvat a date and a pomegranate, I should first make the bracha over the date, for the reason that Rav Amuna said, that I look how far away are you from the word Eretz, and since the word Eretz was repeated, so now the date beats the pomegranate. Okay, now let's see how Rav Kook explains it. No, first of all, I skipped here a paragraph. I skipped here for the lack of space, but Rav Kook, of course, says a very straightforward thing, that of course we see from the very fact that the halacha says the species that is closer to the word land, Eretz, is first in blessing. We first see the basic thing that we appreciate who is more closer to the land, because we're chibat haaretz. The love of the land is such that is a symbol that we are appreciating one who is more close to the land is in a higher level, or it gets precedence.
Okay.
Fine. And now, what?
No, just looking at the pasuk. Eretz chita, where motzi trumps everything.
Motzi?
Hamotzi left, because that's chita.
Nachon. Vasher chibat haaretz. Now let's start reading Rav Kook here. Olat Re'iyah, as you know, is an interpretation of Rav Kook on the Siddur, Olat Re'iyah. But also we have a parallel statement. It's the same saying. It just depends. These are how they edited it. But there is also a book of Rav Kook on Gemara, on Agadot. It's called Ein Ayah. And that on Brachot you'll see the same quote there. And since the love of the land, the affection of the land is there is a hierarchy according to the level of the people and how and their cognition, because he now explains what he means. There is one who likes the land of Israel for its precious virtues, sgulot, and is very thirsty to come to its stones and to come back to its land. Does that remind you someone? That's the smag. Mamash refers to it. He says, there is one who has high desire, high wishes. He wants to come to the land. He is very thirsty to come to the land because of its spiritual virtues. And in order to make mitzvot, fulfill mitzvot atluyot ba'aretz. Uvishvil, now I wrote it in bold letters, hatachlita elyona, the highest goal and purpose, hanimtzet ba leklal Yisrael uleklal haolam b'ma'alatam haruchanit, in order to really redeem the world spiritually. V'yesh mi shemechabev Eretz HaKodesh, and there is one that that likes and is longing for Eretz HaKodesh. V'yishtadel b'yishuvahu v'dirata, and he will make efforts in building it and residing in it. Bishvil, why? For shemakir ba'atachlit, because he understands the end of shel hamenucha chomrit leklal Yisrael, that I need to bring a physical home for the people of Israel. Bait le'umi la'am ha'yehudi. You know, where is that quote from? Megillat HaAtzmaut. Yeah, he wants to bring a physical home where this nation could rest. שהוא גם כן דבר טוב ונשגב, says Rav Kook. This is also a very, very good and high thing. ובכל זאת, and yet still, says Rav Kook, לא בעד המעלה הראשונה. It's not on the same level, of course, as למי שמכיר יסוד התכלית העליונה שבחיבת הארץ. The one who acknowledges and recognizes the foundation of the highest goal of the love to the land of Israel. Meaning, of course, we want the spiritual to lead the material and not vice versa. We want the chefetz to lead the cheshek and not the cheshek to lead the chefetz. Of course, that is very, very clear. But he says both are very important. And yeah, it's true that one who only sees the physical goal in the land of Israel is not in the same level, of course, of one who understands the spiritual segula of Eretz Yisrael. Al ken, he says, therefore, Ramuz b'pasuk keruv ha'barachot la'aretz b'shtei ma'arachot. That's why the Torah hinted, gave a clue about being close to the land in two sets. What? In two sets. Chamisha minim, the first 5, chita, seora, gefen, te'ena, verimon. The first 5, that is corresponding to the desire to the land in the elevated way. Because that hints to mechuvanim neged chamisha chumshei Torah. He says there is a sign here, it's 5, that is a sign for chamisha chumshei Torah, shehem yesod ha'ashlama Yisraelit. And as we know, the chamisha chumshei Torah, the Torah is the yesod, is the foundation of the completion of the Jewish nation, and from that stems the whole humanity, universal completion, the Torah. וכל המוקדם בה וקרוב יותר לארץ, and anyone who is closer to the land, מוקדם לברכה, will get first, well, the bracha will be on it first. The more you're close to the land, meaning the love to the land is greater. והחלק השני, and the second set, זית שמן ודבש, this is corresponding to the ones that are recognizing the physical completion that is by how the people, the Klal Yisrael, the Am, is being really coming to its physical rest and completion ba'aretz. And now he writes the following, and that's very radical. ולמדנו מכאן, we learn from here, כמה גדולה היא המעלה, how great is the ma'ala, the virtue, I don't know, the level, how great is the level of one, של מי שמשתוקק ליישב ארץ הקודש, one who desires to be meyashev, the land of Israel, to build the land, אפילו לשם, even for התכלית החומרית של הכלל, even for just the physical, material end of the Klal Yisrael. And now he says a principle that we can give a whole share on, כי אצל הכלל, because if we speak about the Am as an Am, not as individuals, יהפוך תמיד כל עניין גשמי לרוחני. Every physical thing transforms to be a spiritual thing. Because, I'll just give you something in simple words, because we're not talking about an egocentric thing. We're not talking about klal is already something abstract. Klal is not just the sum of the individual. Am Yisrael, that's already a concept. So if I am building a physical, I'm busy with the physical end of Am Yisrael, that is already a spiritual thing. It's already beyond the here and now and the physical. There are more deep explanations to that, but that's how. והתכלית העליונה, and therefore he says that the end, the elevated goal, will come about by chibur am Hashem be'eretz Hashem, by connecting the people of Israel to the land of Israel. Meaning, Here he says even something beyond what I said. Yeah, what I said could be also explained how even when I'm working for the Klal Americans, it's more than just a physical thing. But he says here even if you're working for the Klal Yisrael and Eretz Yisrael, well, that is already advancing. You're advancing the Bach, the holy fruit. Yeah, that is already creating. Yeah. Now he says the following: Al ken, and therefore, since he says we see that the physical desire, that the desire to do physical things, building the physical Israel for the Klal is high. Al ken, he says, mi sheyesh lo korva yetera la'eretz hakodesh, one who has very closeness to the land, even afilu b'madriga nemucha, the material one, yesh lanu lechazko uleamtzo, we should strengthen him, uleakdimo lebracha, and we should make the blessing on him before who? Mi shemitacher umitrachek, someone who is further from the land of Israel, af al pi shebetoch halev, even though deep inside the heart, yeh mitrachek, this one that is further, is in a higher spiritual level. Mikol makom, yet still, yishuv haaretz v'chibata, the building, yishuv, right, the inhabiting, the building of the land, and its love, before in actualization, hu davar nisgav, is a big thing. Ukmo she'amru Chazal, and like the sages said about Omri, which was a wicked king, the father of Achav, shezachar malchus, he merited, he got to be a king, bishvil shosif ir achat be'eretz Yisrael, because he built a city in Eretz Yisrael, even though even though his kavana was definitely material. Now look, one second. Now, first you have to understand that that's a very radical Rav Kook. You need to understand the context of the time of writing this. He is writing here about the Chalutzim, these heretics that were builders of the land. I think it's very appropriate that we're learning this paragraph in a day that we're burying one of the founders of Kibbutz Nir Oz. One of the founders of Kibbutz Nir Oz, and also young people from Nir Oz. As you know, all the 4 people that came back today are from Nir Oz. So Oded Lifshitz, he was one of the founders of Nir Oz. So, and he wasn't from, okay? So let's put it this way, okay? He was a Chiloni Kibbutznik. And look how Rav Kook respects these people. Because Rav Kook says, and that's the radical statement, I have a frum, holy Jew, but he is further from the land of Israel in terms of Chibat Eretz HaKodesh. In terms of Chibat Eretz HaKodesh. He is the pomegranate. He is the Rimon. He is 5th. He is 5 blocks away from Eretz. But he is a part of the Chamisha Chumshei Torah. He is in the one, because I repeat, Rav Kook grouped the 2 groups, and he says the first 5 represent the people who are about the Tachlit Elyonah, the higher Tachlit, the spiritual Tachlit of Am Yisrael. And the second group, Zeit Shemen Udvash, are ones that are desiring the land of Israel for its physical purposes. And he says, but if this guy is more close to the land of Israel, the Dvash, the Tamar, so we will bench on him before the pomegranate, because he's further from the land of Israel in terms of his connection, even though in his heart, the connection that he does have, the far one, is for the elevated purpose. But we now that's a very radical statement of Rav Kook here.
You also,
that he says.
it's not just a statement. He actually went into
Okay, all right. And now what I want to say is that so that is the statement that is said here. And Rav Chanan Porat adds that we could see it as a vort 5 corresponding to Chamisha Chumshei Torah. What's the connection between Chita, Sorah, Geffen, Tenaver, and to Chamisha Chumshei? A vort of Rav Kook. But look at this. It's something that is an anchor in the pshat. The first 5 are presented as raw in the raw form. Chita, Sorah, Geffen, Tenav, Rimon. The second 2, Zeit Shemen, Udvash. Already there was a human building of it, a human intervention in it. Okay? So that's why the 5 are the spiritual, the first 5, and the first 2 are representing the Jews that are close to the land of Israel in its tachlis material binding, Zeit Shemen Udvash. Now, ויש לנו ללמוד שצריך לחזק it, and now the Rav Kook ends, and therefore we should learn from here that we need to strengthen the material forces of Klal Yisrael, and from that we will get also the chizuk of the spiritual forces. על כן מתוך החוזק החומרי יבוא חוזק נפשי רוחני. If we'll build a physical strength, then we will also get the spiritual strength. Al ken amru lo. Now the last debt is, and that's why I didn't finish it now, because also we started 3 minutes late, so we can end 3 minutes late. But the point is that we still need to solve the riddle. What is this statement that he says? Let us have metal boots that we will follow you. What is that meaning of that? So Rav Kook explains. Therefore, he was told by Rav Chis, Ka'alacha v'cha'inyan. He was answered straight to the point. Who will give us shoes of metal, and we will learn from you? Who will give us chozek gufani v'koach chomri amitz kebarzel? Who will give us strength, physical strength like metal? Liot shrirei aguf chazakim, that will have strong muscles of the body, and we could get from you such a spiritual shleimus, completion, perfection, like your magnitude. We will learn from you to like the material strength as part of the Am of Hashem, because this will bring spiritual strength, and we will follow your way. How we could be zoche by this, by the derech of the Torah, not to rebel, meaning just to increase the power and the inner strength, even material one, because that will give us, this will get that way by the spiritual discipline. What he wants to say here, you see how he tries to balance, meaning Rav Kook understands that he's saying something dangerous, because the next step could be koichi ve'otzem yadi, could be just the secular Zionism. Yeah? So he says, no, let's learn from you, Rav Amnuna, how by spiritual discipline and guidance that we understand that the real end is the spiritual one, but that it comes, as I said, living in the body. Okay? Living in the body. That is our purpose, and we will learn it from you. Yeah? How to implement, how to penetrate the material life with that spirituality, so that the physical and the material are not enemies, but rather they're part of a big completion, perfection. Yeah? That's how that was Rav Kook's vision, and that influenced his respect to these builders of the country. So I think that's as part of Torat Eretz Yisrael, and it seems like, as I said, 2 points that are intertwined: the Ahavat Yisrael, appreciation to the building of Israel, appreciation for people like Oded Lifshitz, Hashem Inkom Damo, and understanding that in Torat Eretz Yisrael we're beyond that split between. You see that even his example was, all right, the first five they're yearning for L'kayim mitzvot atluyot ba'aretz. Yeah, but the two other, the Zeit Shem and Udvash, yeah, they're like the Bachs. Yeah, by eating the fruit, I'm actually building here a country and enjoying the Shechina of Hashem. Right, נכון? בסדר, אז שיהיה לכולם שבוע טוב. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom.
Could it be that there are no such thing as secular science?